In the Kenyan savannah, Dr. Samuel Thornton encounters an injured elephant crying out for help. With danger lurking nearby, he must act fast to tend to her wounds, risking his safety for a chance at survival. Join the suspenseful journey, subscribe to The Unusual, and watch till the end. Dr. Samuel Thornton wiped the sweat from his forehead as he navigated the thick vegetation of the Kenyan savannah. At 75, his agility had decreased, yet his passion for wildlife preservation remained steadfast, even in challenging conditions. As a wildlife veterinary expert in Africa, Sam had devoted the latter stage of his life to safeguarding and researching the magnificent creatures that inhabited this terrain. Today's task seemed routine. Alongside his small team, he was surveying the local elephant population, observing their activities, and assessing their health. This work was critical, given the ongoing threats of poaching and habitat destruction faced by these majestic animals. While maneuvering through dense foliage, Sam suddenly halted at a sound that sent a chill through him. A piercing cry from an elephant, filled with desperation. He had never experienced such a tone in all his years working with these creatures. Without hesitation, Sam traced the noise, moving swiftly through the underbrush as the cries intensified. Recognizing the urgency, he understood that time was of the essence. Emerging from the trees, Sam arrived in a small clearing that took his breath away. There at the center stood a mature female elephant. What struck him most was not her size, but her demeanor. She fixed her desperate gaze on him and moved closer, extending her trunk, letting out another mournful cry that seemed to plead for help. Overwhelmed, Sam's scientific instincts kicked in. He knew elephants were intelligent and emotional beings, but this direct interaction was unprecedented in his career. As he stood frozen in awe, the elephant approached further, revealing that she was favoring her left front leg, barely putting any weight on it. Realizing her condition, he murmured to himself, "She's wounded," as his veterinary instinct sprang into action. He activated his transceiver, signaling for his team to bring first aid kits to his location. Gently, he began to approach the towering creature. "It's all right, girl," he whispered soothingly. "I'm here to help. Can you show me where it hurts?" Astonishingly, the elephant seemed to understand, slightly raising her injured leg and emitting a sound that resembled a muffled groan. As Sam drew nearer, he noticed a massive splinter lodged deep in her footpad. "Oh, you poor creature," he murmured, his heart aching for her. "That must be unbearable. Don't worry, we'll remove it." The elephant stood motionless as Sam examined her foot, occasionally rumbling softly in discomfort. Her behavior was unlike any wild elephant he had encountered, leaving him in awe. It was as if she recognized that he was there to help and trusted him completely. When his team arrived with the first aid kits, they were astonished to see Sam so close to a wild elephant. "Dr. Thornton," his apprentice, Sarah, exclaimed. "Be careful." "It's okay," Sam reassured them. "She's asking for our help. We need to remove a splinter from her foot. Sarah, prepare a local anesthetic. Tom, get the long-handled forceps from the kit." As his team hesitantly moved closer under his calm guidance, Sam continued to speak soothingly to the elephant. "You're showing great courage," he praised her. "We'll have you healed soon." The procedure was unlike anything Sam had ever performed. With surprising gentleness, the elephant allowed them to administer the anesthetic and begin tending to the splinter. She remained completely still, her intelligent eyes observing their every move. When the splinter, nearly 6 inches long, was finally removed, the elephant let out a trumpet-like sound that echoed relief. She gingerly tested her weight on the injured foot, and sensing a significant decrease in pain, she turned her gaze towards Sam. The gratitude in her eyes left him momentarily breathless, an understanding and a depth of emotion he had never anticipated in an animal. Gradually, she extended her trunk toward him. Sam stood still, hardly daring to breathe as she softly touched his face. This gesture of warmth, a profound connection, brought tears to his eyes. "You're appreciated," he whispered, reaching up to lightly stroke her trunk. "You're deeply appreciated." They stood together in that moment. Man and elephant bonded through touch and something more profound that transcended species. After a final gentle grunt, the elephant turned to leave, her stride now steady and pain-free. As she reached the edge of the clearing, she paused, looking back at Sam and his team. Lifting her trunk high, she let out a trumpet sound, this time not of distress, but a farewell that seemed to express joy. Then she vanished into the bush, leaving Sam and his crew in stunned silence. "Wow, Dr. Thornton," Sarah whispered, breaking the stillness. "What just happened?" Overwhelmed by the encounter, Sam could only shake his head. "I can't fully explain it," he admitted, "but I think we just witnessed something extraordinary. Something that could reshape our understanding of elephant intelligence and emotion." As they returned to their base camp, Sam's mind raced. The meeting with the elephant had struck him deeply, challenging everything he thought he knew about these magnificent animals. While he had always recognized their emotional intelligence, this level of interaction, this display of trust and gratitude, was unprecedented. That evening, as he sat by the campfire writing in his journal, he found it impossible to use the usual dry, academic language he typically employed. Could mere numbers convey the emotion in the elephant's eyes, the gentle touch of her trunk, the clear expression of need and gratitude? A plan began to form in his mind. This interaction could not be an isolated event. He needed to investigate this further, to explore the depth of the elephant's cognition and emotion he had glimpsed. More importantly, he felt a compelling urge to share this experience with the world. If humans could grasp the intelligence and emotions these majestic animals were capable of, it could profoundly impact their views on animal rights, conservation, and the very essence of consciousness itself. In the following weeks, Sam immersed himself in his study with newfound fervor. He meticulously reviewed every piece of research on elephant cognition and emotion he could find. Sam held discussions with local tribes, gathering their wisdom and stories about the elephants with whom they coexisted. Each day he ventured into the wilderness, hoping to encounter the elephant he had assisted or any others displaying similar behaviors. His crew noticed this growing fixation, and perhaps it bordered on obsession. But Sam couldn't shake the feeling that he was on the brink of a revelation that could transform human understanding of elephants, and perhaps all animals. Nearly a month after their initial encounter, it happened again. Sam was observing a small family of elephants from a distance when he noticed something unusual. One of the adult females kept glancing in his direction, her trunk raised as if testing the scents in the air. To his astonishment, the elephant began moving toward him, while the rest of the herd appeared unfazed, quietly watching as their kin approached the human observer. His heart raced as he recognized her. It was the very elephant he had aided earlier. As she drew closer, a gentle rumble escaped her, and Sam felt it was a greeting. "Hello, old girl," he whispered, hardly believing this was happening again. "Do you remember me?" Her response took his breath away. She extended her trunk, tenderly touching his face, replicating the gesture she had used when he removed the thorn from her foot. It was a clear sign of recognition, a memory of their shared connection. For the next hour, Sam sat in trance as the elephant lingered nearby, occasionally reaching out to touch him with her trunk. She seemed to be trying to communicate, expressing herself through soft rumbles and gestures that left Sam scrambling to understand. He spoke to her, narrating his actions and posing questions, even though he knew she couldn't respond verbally. As the sun began to set, the elephant's family started to gradually move away. Giving him one last gentle touch with her trunk, she turned to follow her family. Before she left, she cast one final look at Sam and let out a soft, rumbling sound he had never heard before. It felt like an invitation. That evening, Sam struggled to sleep, his mind buzzing with the implications of the day's events. This wasn't just a random occurrence. This elephant recognized him, sought him out, and seemed to want to engage. The experience was incredible. In the weeks that followed, these interactions continued. Nala, as Sam affectionately named her, a Swahili word for gift, always sought him out whenever he and his team were nearby. Each encounter revealed her eagerness to communicate, her gestures and vocalizations growing increasingly complex. Sam dedicated himself to deciphering her language. With the help of linguists and animal communication specialists, he cataloged every noise and movement Nala made, spending countless hours observing her interactions with her herd. Slowly, certain patterns began to emerge. Specific rumbles corresponded with particular thoughts or desires, while movements of her trunk carried distinct meanings. Sam began to realize he was on the cusp of a profound discovery, an intricate language uniquely elephantine. As his understanding deepened, so did his ability to respond to Nala's communication. He practiced mimicking some of her rumbles and gestures, and to his astonishment, she seemed to respond positively. They developed a simple yet effective form of communication that allowed for genuine exchanges of thoughts. About 6 months after their first interaction, Nala's demeanor shifted. She appeared restless, gesturing insistently for Sam to follow her. He hesitated, then decided to trust her lead. Nala guided him deeper into the wilderness than ever before. As they walked, Sam noticed other elephants watching from the shadows, seemingly safeguarding the area. Eventually, they reached a small clearing, and what he saw took his breath away. At the center lay a baby elephant, but something was wrong. The calf lay on its side, breathing irregularly, its frail body trembling. Nala met Sam's gaze, her eyes filled with an unmistakable plea for help. She gestured toward the baby elephant, then at Sam. The message was clear: help. Please help. Sam rushed to the calf's side, his veterinary training kicking in as he began examining the young elephant, while acutely aware of Nala and the other adults watching closely. The calf was severely dehydrated and had a high fever, likely due to an infection. He urgently called for medical supplies and then turned to Nala. "I'm going to help," he said, locking eyes with her. "But you need to trust me. Will you do that?" Nala softly rumbled in response, extending her trunk to touch Sam's shoulder gently. It felt like she was signaling her agreement, her trust. What followed was the most extraordinary medical undertaking of Sam's career. As his team arrived with the necessary supplies, the elephants formed a protective circle around the clearing. They observed intently as Sam administered fluids, antibiotics, and fever reducers to the sick calf. Throughout the procedure, Nala remained close, gently rumbling comforting sounds to the baby and occasionally brushing Sam with her trunk as if encouraging. The level of trust and cooperation from these wild creatures was unprecedented. After several anxious hours, the calf began to stabilize. Its fever subsided, and it managed to stand, albeit unsteadily. When it took its first wobbly steps toward Nala, the entire herd erupted in what could only be described as a jubilant chorus of trumpeting. As Sam packed away his medical supplies, amazed by the day's events, he felt a soft tap on his shoulder. He turned to find Nala gazing at him, her eyes filled with deep emotion. Carefully wrapped her trunk around him in an unmistakable embrace. Tears welled in Sam's eyes as he returned the gesture, overwhelmed by the extraordinary bond he shared with this remarkable being. In that instant, he realized that his life's purpose was just beginning. This day marked a pivotal moment, not just for Sam, but for the entire field of elephant research. Stories of Sam's extraordinary bond with Nala and her herd began to garner attention in scientific communities. Soon, researchers from around the globe wanted to witness and analyze this unprecedented level of human-elephant interaction. Sam found himself amid a whirlwind of excitement. He was invited to present at conferences, consulted for conservation initiatives, and featured in documentaries. Yet amid all the attention, his focus remained on Nala and her herd. With the help of language specialists and animal behaviorists, Sam continued to deepen his understanding of elephant communication. They developed a more comprehensive dictionary of elephant sounds and gestures, and even created rudimentary software that could translate some elephant vocalizations into rough approximations of human language. However, it was about more than just language. Through his ongoing interactions with Nala and her herd, Sam gained unprecedented insights into elephant cognition, emotions, and social structures. He observed complex problem-solving skills, signs of abstract thinking, and emotional reactions that mirrored those of humans in their intricacy and nuance. One of the most surprising discoveries came a year after the incident with the ailing calf. Arriving at the research station one day, Sam found Nala waiting for him, a common occurrence. What was unusual was the object she held carefully in her trunk. As Sam approached, Nala gently placed the item before him. It was a branch, but not just any branch. It had been stripped of leaves and smaller branches, one end crudely shaped into a point. Sam's mind raced as he examined the branch. Was this a tool? Had Nala crafted it herself? And more importantly, why had she brought it to him? In the following weeks, Nala presented Sam with more objects: smooth stones, uniquely shaped pieces of bark, and even a discarded plastic bottle that had found its way into their territory. Each time she placed the object before Sam, watching intently as he investigated it. Gradually, Sam realized that Nala was not just offering random items. She was sharing her discoveries with him, much like he had been sharing knowledge with her. It was an interspecies cultural exchange, something never documented before. This insight opened new avenues for research. Sam and his team began exploring not just elephant communication methods, but also the topics of conversation. They discovered that elephants possessed a sophisticated understanding of their environment, curiosity about the world around them, and a willingness to share knowledge remarkably similar to human behavior. As the years passed, the research station blossomed into a globally recognized center for elephant studies. However, it was more than just a scientific institution. Under Sam's leadership, it evolved into a place of connection and mutual understanding between species. Visitors and researchers from around the world traveled to witness the unique bond between human researchers and the elephant herd. They marveled at how Sam and his team communicated with the elephants through a blend of sounds, gestures, and even a few basic symbolic communication tools they had developed. Among the many visitors to the research center, none had a greater impact than a group of grade schoolers from a neighboring community. Most of these children initially viewed elephants as dangerous pests, notorious for destroying crops. At first, fear overcame them when they saw these giant creatures. However, upon witnessing the peaceful interactions between the herd and Sam, alongside his team, their curiosity outweighed their apprehension. Nala, always the charismatic ambassador, seemed particularly interested in the kids. She frequently approached the viewing area when they were present, putting on what appeared to be small performances just for them. She would manipulate various objects with her trunk, produce a range of sounds, and even playfully splash water at the safety barrier, much to the children's delight. One day, a little girl named Amina, no more than 7 years old, asked a question that would revolutionize the research center's objectives. With wide eyes brimming with curiosity, she asked, "Dr. Sam, do you think Nala could teach us how to communicate with elephants?" Sam was taken aback by the innocence and depth of the question. He had focused so intently on decoding elephant communication from a scientific standpoint that the broader educational potential had never crossed his mind. Looking at Amina, he replied, "You know what, Amina? That sounds like a fantastic idea. Would you like to try?" Thus began the Elephant Language Program at the Research Center. Sam and his team developed a curriculum that educated people of all ages about the foundations of elephant communication. Participants learned to decode elephant body language, recognize different vocalizations, and even mimic basic elephant sounds. The program was a resounding success, with children who once viewed elephants with fear now eager to converse with them. Even farmers who previously considered the animals nuisances began to understand their behaviors and needs, fostering a more harmonious coexistence. Remarkably, some former elephant hunters, moved by the creature's intelligence and emotions, transformed into passionate advocates for conservation. Nala became the heart of this program. She seemed to understand the significance of their undertaking and joyfully embraced her role as an educator. She eagerly demonstrated different sounds and gestures, patiently repeating them until the students mastered them. Remarkably gentle with the children, she guided them when they made mistakes and trumpeted with happiness when they succeeded. Over time, Sam found immense joy in witnessing a new generation grow up with profound admiration and respect for the magnificent giants. They began to see that the dedicated efforts of the research center were not only contributing to scientific understanding of elephants, but also positively shifting human perspectives toward these creatures. However, the journey was not without challenges. About 5 years after launching the Elephant Language Program, Sam received distressing news. Poachers had been spotted nearby, dangerously close to the area where Nala's herd typically roamed. Sam's heart raced as he swiftly assembled an urgent response team. Just as they were preparing to leave, he heard a familiar low rumble. Nala was at the research center, and she was clearly agitated. Years of communication had honed Sam's ability to gauge her emotional state. He could see her distress and urgently asked, "Nala, what's wrong? Are the poachers close? Is the herd at risk?" Her response was a flurry of swift movements and sounds. With their refined communication code, Sam grasped the essence of her message. The poachers were indeed dangerously close to the herd, but critically, they had managed to isolate a small calf from its family. Without hesitation, Sam sprang into action. He quickly relayed the situation to his team, and they set off under Nala's guidance. As they moved, Sam was awestruck by the trust Nala placed in them. She was leading humans to her vulnerable herd, a behavior contradicting her instincts. Yet she knew they were there to help, and that trust made all the difference. As they approached the herd's location, Nala suddenly stopped. She turned to Sam and began a series of movements that he understood as an instruction to tread quietly. Acknowledging the need for discretion, Sam signaled to his team to proceed carefully. Soon they heard human voices in the distance, the poachers. Spreading out, Sam's team maintained communication with local law enforcement via their radios. They spotted the poachers' camp through the trees, and there, tied to a tree, was a terrified calf. Seeing the frightened young elephant tugged at Sam's heartstrings, but he knew they had to act cautiously for everyone's safety. As the officials closed in on the poachers, Sam and his team focused on freeing the calf. The moment the ropes were untied, the calf let out a piercing call, echoing its distress. Instantly, the sound was met with a chorus of trumpets from the surrounding area. The herd had been watching closely. It was Nala who first burst from the trees, rushing to the calf's side. The moment between mother and child was tender. No words could capture it. With her trunk, Nala gently examined the calf, making soft, calming noises to soothe its anxiety. Once she was assured the calf was safe, Nala turned her attention to Sam, her eyes filled with gratitude. Her trunk extended, gently touching Sam's face, a gesture that had become all too familiar over the years. "You're welcome," Sam whispered, his voice thick with emotion. "Thank you for trusting us." This event marked a turning point for the research center. The story of elephants and humans collaborating to outsmart poachers became a worldwide sensation, shedding new light on the elephant language program and highlighting the urgent need to protect these remarkable creatures. Recognizing the potential in this, Sam decided to expand their efforts. He initiated a new project to train locals as elephant guardians. These guardians would learn elephant communication skills and be responsible for conserving their habitats, resolving human-elephant conflicts, and educating others about preservation. The project became an instant success. Young people, who once saw limited prospects in their rural communities, now had the opportunity to become respected professionals in a promising field. Surprisingly, the elephants, with their keen intelligence, appeared to understand and appreciate the guardians' work. Nala, now in her late 40s and a respected leader of her herd, remained central to these efforts. She patiently worked with each new group of guardians, helping them understand the intricacies of elephant communication and behavior. Observing the program thrive under his leadership, Sam felt a profound sense of fulfillment. The frightened, wounded elephant who had approached him for help years earlier had sparked a chain reaction that was reshaping the world. Society was beginning to see elephants not merely as animals, but as intelligent beings with emotions deserving of respect and protection. One evening, as dusk settled over the savannah, Sam sat on the observation deck of the research center. Nala and her herd grazed peacefully nearby, their large forms casting shadows against the orange sky. Nala glanced up, her gaze meeting Sam's from a distance. She lifted her trunk in a motion that Sam had come to interpret as a greeting or acknowledgement of his presence. In response, Sam raised his hand, a smile spreading across his face at this simple interaction between friends. As he sat there watching the herd and reflecting on the journey that had brought him here, a deep sense of optimism for the future washed over Sam. He knew there was still much work to be done and countless challenges to face in the fight to preserve these giants. But he understood that knowledge fosters empathy, and empathy ignites the desire to protect. A desperate cry for help from an elephant had led him to a life-changing encounter. This meeting initiated a bond that transcended species and was now evolving, intertwining the lives of humans and elephants in a way that transformed perceptions of our role in the natural world. As the last rays of sunlight faded, Sam made a silent vow to Nala, to all the elephants and to the world. He would continue this mission for as long as he could, building bridges of understanding between humans and elephants and inspiring others to do the same. The desperate call for help from the elephant had been answered, not just in that moment of pain, but in a manner that would resonate through time. That response, that symbiotic relationship, offered hope for a future where all species could coexist in peace and understanding. As he walked toward his quarters, Sam knew that tomorrow would bring new challenges, fresh revelations, and growth opportunities. But with Nala and her herd by his side, he felt ready for whatever lay ahead. Ultimately, it was not just about saving elephants. It was about recognizing the intricate web of life and striving for a future where every creature, big or small, is valued and protected. The journey that began with an elephant's desperate plea for help had transformed into a mission, a calling, a purpose in life. Although he understood that time was fleeting, he took comfort in knowing that the connections he fostered between humans and elephants would endure long after he was gone. In children learning the language of elephants, in the guardians protecting the herds, and in every person who looked at an elephant and saw more than a mere animal, who saw a thoughtful, emotional being worthy of respect and protection, Sam's work and Nala's trust would persist. As twilight settled over the savannah, the sounds of contented elephants blended with the whispers of the African night. In that symphony of nature, there was hope, hope for understanding, compassion, and a future where humans and elephants could walk together in harmony, not as master and beast, but as companions on this remarkable journey of life.